All right, so today we are going to talk about 11 reasons you might not be able to control your hunger at all when you are on a weight loss diet. This is something that a lot of people that I work with struggle with, and they often come to me and say, "Hey, I just have no idea what to do. I'm always hungry. I can't stop thinking about food." And if that's you and you are still trying to lose some weight, we're going to give you a few things to consider in your overall environment or your overall lifestyle that might be kind of setting you up for failure. So go ahead and stay all the way to the end because some of these things might surprise you. And also please consider giving the video a like if you are enjoying the video so far. So let's go ahead, jump right in. We'll look at some of those different things. And the first thing that I kind of wanted to address is this idea of a weight loss environment. So we can literally ask ourselves, how can we make weight loss easier? Or how can we control our hunger easier? One of the ways that we can do this is by changing our food environment. And in fact, this is something that I use a lot in my day-to-day life and recommend that people do very frequently. So what is a food environment? What is a food environment? A food environment is simply being basically anytime you have food around you. This could be your household, this could be your overall job, it could be when you're driving somewhere, what food is available for yourself, if you have access to good groceries, if there's like grocery stores near you, that could be part of your food environment. Food environment is very, very holistic and it looks a lot of different ways, but usually the context I look at changing your food environment to hopefully control your hunger is through what you can do at home. So let's talk about having a food environment at home. Maybe if for somebody who's eating treats in our day-to-day life, one of the things you can do is make those treats really hard to see. In addition to this, not bringing in unhealthy food is a really, really good thing to do. But again, you might be somebody who does want to treat now or again, and that's totally okay. It's all in moderation. But for myself personally, I find that just not bringing that food in the house altogether is a great way to control my hunger and help me to lead me to those weight loss goals for myself, of course. But another thing you can do if you don't want to completely get rid of them, as I just mentioned, is trying to make them hard to see. So I'll give you a prime example. One of my professors who I had in my nutrition courses in college, she was a very small individual, and what she actually did to change her food environment, anytime she had a treat, she would place it on a very high object. This was usually a very high stool, or something she would need a stool to get up to, I should say, where basically she had to reach all the way up there to get it. And that's already one thing. So she would literally need a stool to get this treat. That's changing her in food environments, making it tougher to get it. But to also make it even tougher on herself, she would take that stool and place it in the basement. So literally every time she would want a treat or dessert, she would really, really have to work for it. And I think this is powerful and can be applied to a lot of your lives as well. Just try to find ways that make your treats harder to see. You don't even have to go to that extent. I myself personally just put them kind of in a lower cabinet, right? And basically just put it at the back of the cabinet. So I literally have to think to myself, oh, I'm wanting a treat. Now I'm going to go for it. So that's a different way you can look at it. Another way to control your hunger better is also just by having healthier snacks available for you when you are very, very busy through your day. So this is something that a lot of people don't think, oh, I don't have time to eat healthy, or oh, I'm, need something good, right? Have those healthy snacks. So this could be something like maybe a protein bar, some cottage cheese. Maybe you just have pre-portioned small meals, some chicken breasts and some veggies, just accessible for yourself. Make them quick, make them easy, because if you have them quick and easy, you're going to be leaning towards those versus those other foods, those kind of granola bars, which don't really make us full. They ultimately usually make us very, very hungry. I also, too, am a big proponent of packing food when you're going out. So if you have a really long day at work, of course, this is something you always hear: pack your lunches, don't go out to eat. It's so true though, it's so true. And you can also monitor what you're eating, so putting in those good nutrients for yourself. But at the same time, it is a great way to just control your hunger, because usually when you're going out to eat, a lot of people, they're not eating the best of food. You're going to be smelling things that kind of induce hunger a lot more, and it's just really setting you up for failure. Also too, talk to your support about kind of what you're going through. So if you are somebody who is living with other people and they're always bringing in unhealthy food, or they're always, wanting you to go out to eat, try to talk to them about it and have an honest conversation and say, hey, I'm really trying to look after my health, and it's pretty difficult and kind of challenging to do so in this current environment. So you don't want them to change completely, but just letting them know that you're trying to make a change can sometimes kind of make them ease off the gas pedal a little bit. Maybe they won't ask you to go out for drinks every single day. Another thing that I do occasionally when I'm trying to change my weight loss environment is still have those treats that we were talking about, right? But I would do this technique called the one bite and done, or a couple bites and done, where basically you have that treat in the house, you take one bite, take maybe 2-3 bites if you're really feeling it, and then immediately just open the garbage, throw it away. It's gone. It's done. That's it. This is something that I use very frequently in my life, especially if I'm really in the mood for a sweet tooth things, so like cookies, cakes, candies, etc. But I know that that's going to make me hungrier. I'll just have one bite of it, maybe another bite if I'm really enjoying it, and then immediately just toss it away. You can also break stuff in half if you have really good self-control, so you can cut it in half and save it for later. That's another way you can kind of control your hunger with your food environment. And the last thing I wanted to mention on this aspect is taking out versus eating out. So if you are somebody who likes eating out, I'd highly recommend trying to do takeout more. I know sometimes it's nice to actually go out and have the experience of eating out, but if you're trying to maintain your weight, getting takeout from that food does one big thing, and that you won't be in the restaurant. You won't be tempted to buy a bunch of appetizers. You likely won't be tempted to get a bunch of alcohol or high sugar beverages on top of that. And then, of course, at the end of the overall meal, you want dessert, right? Because your waiter is good and they're selling it on you. So having takeout from a restaurant kind of alleviates some of those things that can ultimately induce you more hunger and kind of set you up for failure on your weight loss goals. So just a few things to consider. That's the first thing. Of course, there's lots of others. And the next thing that might actually lead you to being more hungry on your weight loss diet is stress. So we can literally look at how chronic stress makes you more hungry. One of the things that chronic stress does is it gets you in this mindset of being too busy to do anything, especially prep healthy food. So when you're stressed and you're too busy, what are you gonna lean to? Of course, fast food, those prepackaged meals, the things we have in the freezer, for example. I know for myself, I used to really love kid cuisine when I was a kid, but now I know not the best option. Hot Pockets, Lean Pockets, those things. Some pizza rolls, those are going to be the things you're leaning towards. And those foods make you so much more hungry. Also, if you don't have time because you're stressed out about work and constantly busy, processed snacks are another thing too. So another processed snack that I like but try to limit is granola bars. Very tasty, very quick and easy, but does not help my hunger very much at all. So I try to have some fruit instead as kind of a better option for me to lean to when I'm stressed, when I need something quick to give me some fuel. But also another thing that stress does is it kind of dysregulates some of these hormones that we have in our body that actually help regulate hunger. So ghrelin is a hormone that when your body produces it, it makes you feel more hungry. It makes you feel like you want to eat some more stuff. The way you can remember that is that ghrelin literally sounds like growl. So it's like grrr, right? That growling in your food. Growling that makes you want food. Leptin is the complete opposite. Leptin is the hormone that when released makes you feel satiated or full. So when you're stressed, these hormones are kind of dysregulated a little bit. So unfortunately, what happens is your ghrelin hormone goes up, so you're more hungry, and also your leptin hormone goes down, so you're less full. So kind of a double-edged sword there, extremely unfortunate. So this is why I think managing stress for a lot of different reasons is important, but especially when you're trying to lose weight, it's also very, very important as well. And if you're finding value from this, please consider giving the video a like so far. I greatly appreciate it. Another way that being stressed can actually affect your overall hunger on a weight loss diet is through sleep. So a lot of times when you're stressed out, you are tired, but sometimes when you're so stressed, your body's not able to actually go to sleep. And when you are sleep deprived, you're going to be leaning towards more of those unhealthy foods. And of course, with those unhealthy foods, your hunger is going to increase greatly, kind of in tandem at the same time. So a lot of things going on there when managing stress or talking about stress management in relations to hunger. And one of the big things that has changed my life when it comes to stress is doing daily meditation. Kind of cliche, I know you always hear it, but this has literally changed my sleep and has really just changed my look on the world as well. So try that out for yourself. There's a lot of different good stress relief activities, but just know if you're stressed, it could really be driving your hunger up to the point where you're setting yourself up for failure on your weight loss diet. Another thing that people always ask me about when it comes to weight loss is how much water should you drink when dieting? And this brings an important note in the fact that being dehydrated can actually make you feel hungry. Isn't that interesting, right? So you might think, oh, I just need more food. Oh, I need to eat more. I'm hungry. I've got that gurgle, right? The ghrelins releasing in my body. No. A lot of times, even for myself, I've noticed that when I'm feeling hungry, if I go drink a bunch of water, usually it will subside. Not completely, and sometimes it doesn't do it at all, but most of the time it helps. So it's interesting because this dehydration actually kind of gives us this fake hunger, quote unquote. So when we have that fake hunger, as we described, it's obviously real hunger, but that's the sensation we get, but it's not actually because we need food. It's just because we're dehydrated. And if you're feeling this, you might be leaning towards foods that might not make you feel more satiated, right? So kind of those unhealthy foods, instead of just drinking water. So when you eat those low quality foods, of course, that's going to lead to some more hunger. And the real issue is never addressed. And I think this is kind of the bigger thing I wanted to talk about in this section of it, in how hydration is affecting your hunger, is that when you are dehydrated, when you actually feel that dehydrated, you have already lost about 1 to 2% of your overall body weight in water. And this has profound effects on mental cognition, physical performance, of course, weight loss, as we just described. And you can lose even more water much quicker. So I just wanted to reiterate how important it is to drink water, especially when you're on a weight loss diet, not only to control your hunger, but to be able to perform and think clearly as well. Also, too, when we're talking about kind of dehydration, you might be thinking, oh, okay, so I'm just going to go drink a bunch of soda, alcohol, juices, I'm just going to get my liquids in. Water is going to be the best source, and I wanted to kind of go back to this idea that certain drinks, even if you're drinking them to try to stay hydrated, they might make you feel more hungry. So things like sodas, certain alcohols, fruit juices, very usually high in sugar and calories, which can lead you to being more hungry. So really try to stick with that water source. That's Definitely one of the best things that I would recommend doing. And of course, you might be asking me, okay, you sold me. How much water should I drink then? A good starting point, and this is completely dependent on how much exercise you do, if you live in a hot environment, lots of different things. A good starting point is to do half of your body weight in ounces. So for myself personally, I weigh 165 pounds. Let's just round down to 160 just to make this easier. I would then drink about 80 ounces of water per day, but the thing about that is that's just to live. That's not counting all the water I would lose during, let's say, exercise, for example, doing activities of daily life. If it was hot during the summer, we lose a lot more water throughout the day. So I usually try to get almost 1 ounce per pound of body weight just because that makes me feel good. Again, it's going to depend on your overall activity level. This is just a starting point for you, but just know that if you're dehydrated, that really could be increasing your overall hunger signals in your body and setting you up for failure on your weight loss goals. But speaking about things that can also make you set you up for failure on your weight loss goals, we can look at certain foods that make you more hungry. And this is one thing that if you can get this right, you will literally be able to make weight loss so easier for yourself because it almost feels like you are eating so much food that you will be full literally forever. So kind of this idea is we're trying to have foods that are both high in volume, as in they fill you up, you can eat a lot of it, but also low in calories, right? And a lot of the foods that make us hungry are the complete opposite. So foods like this are going to be foods that are low in fiber, low in protein, sometimes even fried foods, high sugar foods, and also foods with additives and preservatives. These are different food types that will usually try to make you feel hungry. And here's the thing about these. They're usually fairly unhealthy as well, so they don't have a lot of nutrients in them. One of the things about this food, though, as we just discussed, they're very low in volume too. They're very low in overall food volume and usually very high in calories. So let's think about what might an example of this food be. Let's look at cookies, for example. So one cookie, let's say about this big. I know it's not very exact, but let's say about this big. Just kind of a normal sized cookie you'd get from the bakery. Probably is going to have around 120 to 160 calories in it, depending on if it's got, chocolate chips in it, how much sugar they use, all the different processes. Now, if you take that same amount, right, about the same amount of cookie size and take broccoli, for example. Broccoli, that much, probably is going to have like 15, maybe 20 calories in it. So a very high amount of food volume, that's a decent amount of broccoli, but a very low amount of calories. Those types of food will make weight loss so effortless for yourself because you won't be thinking about food. You're going to be so full, you won't even think about being hungry again. This is why a lot of times when I'm eating food or talking towards people about which food sources they should make, I usually lean towards these lower calorie, high volume options. So a couple examples of ways that I implement this into my life is doing huge salads with a bunch of protein in it, because protein is very satiating. That's one thing. So protein helps you keep full. But in addition to this, that salad, usually with lots of vegetables, has lots of fiber, which will keep you full. It has lots of just overall volume in general. Take a big bowl of salad with some chicken in it. That's going to be a huge amount of food. There's some people who will probably try to eat a big bowl like that, and they can't even do it. They can't even finish it. So think about that. If you are able to find foods like that where you can't even finish your meal, but it's still a fraction of the calories compared to, say, eating a cookie, for example, those foods are going to ultimately make weight loss so effortless for yourself. I want to also give another example too of foods that are potentially low in overall food volume, but really, really high in calories. This is going to be usually stuff that's fried, or I'm thinking of pizza off the top of my head. So pizza in itself has some bread components to it, so some carbs, but there's also usually a lot of cheese on it as well, and usually some fatty meats. So in itself, a piece of pizza might have 300 to 400 calories, depending on how big the pizza is. But if you take that same pizza that's not very high in overall volume and very, very high in calories, and maybe do a thin crust pizza, and then do some low-fat cheese and some turkey bacon or some other lower fat meat options, this could make it so much more lower calorie, but also at the same time more high volume. So you can tweak a lot of your favorite foods and just find kind of different things about that food that make it higher calorie. Try to make them a little bit lower calorie and still enjoy those foods for yourself. And I think this is one of the biggest hacks for people who are trying to diet without feel like dieting. So all those things. But again, sticking with just a simple metric of lots of veggies, foods high in protein, ideally high protein foods, low in saturated fat, so you don't want to be going and eating a bunch of steak, right? Steak isn't inherently bad, but it does have a lot of saturated fat, which you should monitor, and it does have a little more calories since it does have more fat. And when you're trying to maintain overall weight on a diet, you want to monitor your calories. Limiting processed food is going to be a big one because there's a lot of things added into processed food that will make you feel so much hungrier than if you just ate a normal whole food. So I usually try to steer people away from those things that have the nutrition labels on the back. They're prepackaged, all the things we know of, granola bars, cereals. All of these things will really, really spike your overall hunger signals in your body. Another interesting thing that I don't think a lot of people know about when it comes to regulating hunger is the fact that the timing that you eat your food will actually really, really affect your overall hunger signals. So let's take an example of eating steak, veggies, and potato in a meal. If you ate that potato first, the potato is very, very high in carbs, you will likely be hungrier much sooner. If you ate the steak or vegetables first, you will feel much full sooner. And as we discussed with this, it's because protein is very satiating. Veggies, especially high fiber veggies, are very satiating. They make you feel full. And if you are eating these types of foods before you get to the carbs, you might not even get to the carbs, period. You might only be able to eat half of your potato. So going with those things that are going to make you feel full quicker are going to make weight loss for yourself so much easier. So those are just a few reasons that the different foods you eat could be making you hungrier. But of course, there's much more that we can unpack too. And sometimes people will want to know what supplements can help suppress your hunger. So these are assuming we're eating right, getting good sleep, not drinking a bunch of extra calories, specifically from soda and stuff that's going to make us feel hungrier. And we're just trying to get a little bit more of an edge. And by far one of the most researched supplements just in general, but one that I think is very, very useful to help suppress hunger is caffeine. Caffeine is something that I use a lot in my daily life, not specifically to suppress hunger in itself, but I really like using it as kind of a way to get myself more alert. Of course, usually I use caffeine about an hour and a half to 2 hours after waking up. I've done a lot of videos on why this is on my channel, but essentially I still use caffeine. But we're talking about weight loss. So When it comes to weight loss, caffeine can actually blunt your hunger a little bit. And a lot of people know this. Like, it'll be in the morning, they'll have their cup of coffee, and that hunger pang that they might have had will slowly subside a little bit. Slowly subside. And you can get caffeine from a lot of different sources. So there's energy drinks, right? There's tea. Tea doesn't have quite as much caffeine in it as coffee does, or energy drinks, of course. You can literally get caffeine pills, although I really wouldn't steer towards these for the most part. You know, if you're somebody who's a high-level athlete, potentially you get some benefit from that, but I think pills can get kind of out of hand, because you can be like, oh, I'm just feeling a little tired, I'm going to take a quick pill, right? And we don't want that. So I usually lean towards coffee. That's my source of caffeine, and it does have a profound effect on reducing your overall hunger and feelings of appetite. Also, guarana is another thing that has caffeine in it, but just to know that guarana, since it does have caffeine in it, can actually help suppress your hunger. This is sometimes added to energy drinks. It's actually a seed that's usually extracted and put into energy drinks, a supplement on itself, all these different things. You could take some fiber supplements, but of course, just having good old fiber through normal food intake is probably going to be your best bet overall. So that's what I would normally recommend. But there was this interesting fiber supplement I came across called glucomannan. Glucomannan. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it, but that's one you might want to go look at if you're trying to get a little bit more fiber through a supplement, but not have it become, you know, too expensive, because a lot of these supplements like Metamucil, all these different things that are fiber supplements, can get expensive. Just a few different options. I personally would just stick with either coffee or getting some source of caffeine. That's going to be probably your best bet. Super cheap, super widely available. Lots of ways we can get caffeine into our life. Also, too, I did want to note this, even though I'm not going to recommend people to try out prescription drugs or try to get prescribed drugs for weight loss, but there are some prescription drugs that can help with weight loss and overall management of hunger. Metformin's one of them, and this is something that you really just need to consult with your doctor. This is not really within my scope of practice, and of course I'm not able to even prescribe drugs, but just know that if you are really struggling with this, if you're struggling with weight loss and dieting in general, that you can lean towards a doctor that might be able to give you something to kind of help out a little bit. So this leads me into my next portion of this, which is going to talk about the different types of exercise that we can do that can actually help us to manage our hunger a little bit better. So a lot of people will think, oh, I'm trying to lose weight, so what I need to do 100% is some cardio. And that's a great place to start. But it's not the only place you need to start. There's a few different things that go into this. So cardio in itself can help burn calories, of course. And if you are burning more calories per day than you need, right, you're going to lose weight. That's weight loss 101. You need to be burning more than you're eating every single day. So when it comes to cardio in itself, though, a lot of people will be doing kind of low intensity cardio, like going for a walk or even a jog, something that they can do for a very long period of time. Unfortunately, this type of cardio, and a lot of the individuals that I've worked with and noticed, usually makes people a lot more hungry. And the exact mechanism behind this isn't fully sold or delved out, but just know that those kind of lower intensity forms of cardio might kind of make you more hungry on your weight loss diet. So instead, I would highly recommend and try to steer you towards more higher intensity forms of exercise. So this could be getting on an assault bike or getting on a stationary bike or an elliptical, doing a really hard sprint for 10 to 30 seconds and then resting for a little bit. Those are just a few examples. There's of course many others. You could do circuit training, high intensity circuit training. Those actually kind of similar to caffeine and some of those supplements we just talked about in the previous portion of the podcast, can actually help you to kind of blunt your hunger signals a little bit. So this is where it starts to get really good when you're trying to manage your overall weight loss, when you take some of those foods we know that can manage our hunger. We talked about those earlier, usually non-processed, high fiber, high protein foods, and then add in some of those supplements like caffeine. That's going to blunt your hunger. It's not going to make you feel less hungry. And then add in even a little bit of high intensity cardio. So some intervals, some HIIT training, those different things can really accelerate your weight loss simply because you're not going to be as hungry. So this is really profound for yourself. With that said, still do those longer forms of cardio. I like going out for a run and stuff. I just know that I'm going to be very hungry after those. So I kind of try to time those around times where I know I'm going to be eating after. So it makes it a little bit easier on myself. Weight training is very similar as well to high intensity cardio when it comes to managing your overall weight. And you know, I do get hungry after weight training sessions. Of course, a lot of us do. But when it comes to comparison to that kind of low intensity cardio, actual weight training usually helps stave off some of that hunger a little bit as well. So some practical tools, definitely just recommend planning around your hunger, your workouts. So for example, if you know you're normally hungry in the morning, say 9 to 10 a.m., that's when you normally eat breakfast. It might be advantageous for you to think about starting a high intensity exercise bout maybe 30 minutes to an hour before that, simply because it has kind of that appetite suppressant effect where you're not going to be feeling as hungry. And you can really play that to your advantage, especially, you know, if you're going out of town and you're trying to not have your diet go off the rails. You might maybe have a really high intensity workout before you know you're going out to a party or some work event where there's going to be a lot of food that kind of sets you up for failure. So just some things to think about, just doing that high intensity work before you normally feel like you're getting hungry. This is very individualized too. Some people are going to notice that maybe those longer forms of exercise actually don't really aggravate their hunger, don't make them feel more hungry. Some people are going to be the complete opposite, but for most people, this is kind of a good place to start. Adding in some high intensity exercise will greatly help you to reduce your overall hunger. So on top of that, I do want to talk about the speed that you eat and how this could be greatly affecting your overall hunger in your body. So this is something that is going to take a lot of self-awareness from individuals, but if you are eating too fast, this could be leading you to be more hungry, which if you're more hungry and you don't need to be hungry, you're going to eat a lot more calories, a lot more food, and ultimately gain some weight. So again, if you are finding value from this, please consider giving the video a like. Greatly appreciate it. Helps out the channel. But let's talk about eating fast. So when you eat food too fast, your food doesn't get to digest fully. And what I mean by that is it's of course going to digest eventually, but it doesn't get to digest fully before it actually starts to make you feel like you're full. So we talked about earlier the hormones ghrelin. Ghrelin makes you feel more hungry, and leptin makes you feel more full. So when you start eating food, your body starts releasing it starts releasing leptin, I should say, and starts releasing less ghrelin, because this is telling your body, hey, I'm getting nutrients, I'm getting full. The thing about this is, if you eat too fast, your body doesn't have time to even process that your food's going inside of you. So because of that, your ghrelin's still going to be amped up pretty high. Your leptin's still going to be very low, because your body doesn't even know that, hey, this dude just ate one whole cheeseburger in 30 seconds. So let's go lean towards another cheeseburger. Unfortunately, this happens a lot of time, especially when people are busy and they're stressed out. They got to eat their meal really quick. and they might be thinking, oh, that didn't satisfy me. Oh, that didn't satiate me. So I'm going to go grab some more. I'm going to grab another burger. I'm going to grab some more fries. Just eating a little bit slower does so much, not only for your digestion. It helps your digestion, helps the food digest better. You won't get as much kind of abdominal pain or potential bloating. So helps with that, but also hunger management as well, which is a huge thing. So what I wanted to kind of talk about as a way to hopefully alleviate this for you, for yourself, is this idea of mindfulness eating. I'm a big practitioner of meditation, mindfulness meditation, where we're being very present of all the things around us. We can do the same thing when we're eating. And this is a great way to really hone in on your hunger signals and kind of feel if I'm really needing more food. So a few ways we can look at this is by ensuring we savor every single bite. So really taking it in, feeling it in our mouth, swallowing it, tasting it, every single aspect instead of just inhaling that food. We can also set a timer for the meal. Now, this might seem kind of silly, but it's something that I do occasionally. If I know I'm kind of feeling rushed throughout the day, I might actually set a timer for myself that says 30 minutes. This is how long my meal is going to be when I'm eating it. And I can't be any quicker. So it really forces you to eat at a very slow rate so you can kind of pace yourself at that timing. In addition to this, not having any electronics or multitasking when you're eating your meal is a very good way to be more mindful about it. I can't tell you how many times I've just sat and scrolled on YouTube, or if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for joining me. Give the video a like. But if just scrolling on YouTube and you're starting to eat a meal, and the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, you just literally inhaled so much food, and you're just mindlessly scrolling either on YouTube, Facebook, all these different things. Maybe you're multitasking and doing work, and you just ate a whole burger and you didn't even realize that, oh my gosh, I just ate all that food, because you're not fixated on the food. And when you're not fixated on the food, your body doesn't know that, hey, I'm actually enjoying this meal. I'm getting food inside of me. And that will really, really help you to manage your overall hunger. So trying not to have any electronics for the most part. Of course, it's nice to watch TV every now and again with your meal. But I really try to have at least my first 5 to 10 minutes before I do watch TV, have myself just eating the food alone. That really, really helps with my overall weight maintenance and ability to monitor my hunger. Slow chewing, of course, this is pretty self-explanatory. If you're able to chew slower, this is going to give your body time to realize you're taking in food, lead to less hunger. And then eating whole foods as well. Foods that are whole, so high in fiber, high in a lot of nutrients, protein-rich foods. These foods naturally take longer to eat in general versus a granola bar, very highly processed. You can eat that in a second. Those whole foods will give you more things to eat, and especially when we're talking about eating very, very high volumes of whole foods, that really makes weight loss so much easier for yourself. That's why a lot of people lean towards salads when losing weight. If you had a bunch of ranch and cheese and a bunch of stuff on top of it, that won't help you lose weight loss because it's going to add a bunch of extra calories. But if you are doing it with a low-fat dressing and some lean protein on top, it's a very high volume amount of food, a very high volume amount of whole food that has a lot of fiber and protein, which will make you eat slower and, of course, allow you to kind of manage your hunger a little bit better. So that's what I wanted to discuss on that aspect of food intake and your hunger. And then this next portion is kind of addressing an elephant in the room of your family. So your family might be making you fat, and I'm going to tell you why. So family and friends, I should say. So the reason why they could not be helping you out in your weight loss goals and ultimately leading you to become more hungry is for a few different reasons. So at work, let's think about our food environment at our work. If there's a coworker who's always bringing in donuts, how's that going to make you feel? You're going to feel like, I need to take a donut, one, because it's there, and two, I don't want to be mean to him. I don't want to make him feel bad. So if you're eating those things, those cookies, those treats, those little candies in the bowl right in the office, that's going to lead you to making more poor decisions throughout the day. It's going to increase your hunger, which can really, really ruin your weight loss diet. Also, too, a lot of times with coworkers, especially ones that don't particularly care about their health that much, they may ask you to go eat out a lot. And as we discussed earlier in the podcast, if you're eating out a lot, not only is it a very high amount of calories, usually fairly low in nutrients. If you're eating, a stereotypical out to eat lunch like a burger and fries or pizza and a soda, all these different things, you're also eating foods that are going to make you more hungry for other stuff later. So having coworkers that aren't particularly concerned about their health can lead you to doing this. Also on the flip side though, you might have coworkers who are a really good influence on you, and if that's the case, man, stay at that job. They're going to make your weight loss goals so much easier. But then we can kind of pivot into our home life. And there's some things that can happen at home with our family that can really be making our weight loss goals much harder and increasing our overall hunger. So maybe your spouse loves to bake, so they're always baking cookies and cakes and all these different things. And of course, since they're physically available for you to eat, they're right there, and I don't want to be mean to my wife, so I'm going to have a piece of cake, I'm going to have some cookies, and I'm also going to have the dinner that she made, which also might not be the most weight loss performing, right? It might not be the most health promoting of a weight loss diet. So that is one way. Also, too, if you think about your kids, you might have a kid that is in a bunch of different activities and they're always bringing home candy because, they're a good kid and they're getting a pat on the back. They're getting gold stars, but sometimes those gold stars might come in candy, cookies, all these different things from home. Maybe they're always hanging out with friends who bring over some of these things too. This really adds on to the difficulty of trying to maintain weight in a proper weight loss diet, and specifically trying to maintain hunger. When you have all those visual cues available for you, it's extremely difficult to say like, oh, I'm just not going to eat those things. No, your brain sees it, and immediately that's a cue that, hey, I'm going to go eat those things, and that makes it very, very tough. Also, too, when you're going out on these specific things, specific events, right? Like birthdays, weddings, or even just hanging out with people, a lot of times these are related to food that is not the highest of quality, it's very hunger inducing, and does not promote a health promoting diet for weight loss goals. So when you have activities like this with a friend, with a family, I just recommend you trying to steer more towards activities that aren't fully food related. Of course, you want to be able to go out to eat, but do we want to go out to eat and then go get ice cream after, and then after that get a midnight snack on the way home? That's where it can really get out of hand, lead you to increasing your overall hunger by eating these unhealthy foods, which can of course lead to lots of unfortunate weight loss. So this is something where if this is happening in your life, I'd highly recommend just talking to your support systems about it. If you are really trying to make some changes in your overall health routine, realizing that this is important for yourself and talking to them about that is crucial. Because if you don't talk to your family about that stuff, you're likely going to kind of resent them, and you don't want to start resenting people, of course, in any aspect of life, but just something to consider for yourself. And of course, on top of that, we can also look at our sleep. So sleep in itself is extremely profound in that it helps with a large amount of different activities through our day. Obviously, it helps us to maintain vigor and energy, but it helps with repair of different cell metabolism through our body as well. But sleep in itself can actually affect your hunger. So when you have a lack of sleep, the next day you're going to be extremely tired. And when you're tired, your cognition falters a little bit. So you might not be able to make the best of choices. So if you're like leaning on a burger versus a salad, normally if you had good sleep and you were able to think clearly, you might be able to conceptualize, oh, if I eat this salad right now, that's going to help me towards my weight loss goals. But if you're kind of sleep deprived and you're not able to think through that quite as well, you might not get to that processing point, stick to the burger, and on your way. Also, too, when you sleep, there's a dysregulation of different hormones. So 2 hormones get dysregulated when you don't get proper sleep. Ghrelin is one of them. Ghrelin makes you feel more hungry. It makes you want to eat more food. Leptin is the other one. Leptin is your satiety hormone, which helps you feel full and tell you that, hands off, I'm done. I don't need any more food. So there's this really double-edged sword where if you are overconsuming food, overconsuming food because you don't get enough sleep, this is usually because of this dysregulation. So your hunger hormone goes up and it's telling you, eat more, eat more. And the hormone that tells you to not eat goes down. So it's saying, I'm not full, I'm not full at the same time. So on top of the fact that you're not able to think clearly about making healthy choices, your body is literally fighting against you, which is incredibly unfortunate. So when looking at how much sleep we should get, 7 hours is usually like the bare minimum for people. And that's 7 hours of sleep, not 7 hours in bed. So I always have to make this distinction. If you're in bed for 8 hours, you might get up once to go to the bathroom. You might toss and turn a few times. You might even just wake up a little bit and go get a drink of water. That's not time sleeping. And then it takes, 5, 10, sometimes 15 minutes to get back to sleep. So when you're looking at your sleep, try to get 7 hours sleeping. This is likely going to be about 8 to 9 hours in bed. It might need to be a little more depending on who you are as an individual. But basically, I'm going to say flat out, try to get more sleep now than you are currently. Get more sleep than you are currently. That's going to be the best rule of thumb. Lots of people are sleep deprived throughout their daily life, and you will notice the second you start taking sleep into your life and making it a priority, it will make a big difference on your overall mental clarity, health, as well as your hunger and appetite regulation if you are on a weight loss diet. So speaking of weight loss diets, I wanted to talk about this idea of genetics and hunger. And specifically, if your genetics are making you fat, or if your genetics are making you more hungry. And this is something that a lot of people will often talk to me about. It's like, being overweight runs in my family. And that could be true. Actually, it is true for my family personally. A lot of individuals in my family are very, very overweight. But the thing about this is, when we look at losing weight, it still is going to come down to calories in versus calories out. If you are able to eat less calories every single day than you burn in a single day, you will lose weight, period. This might be tougher for some though, because of the genetics that they have that are kind of dysregulating their appetite, in addition to a few other things. So when we talk about appetite regulation hormones, there's leptin and there's ghrelin. So leptin is something that makes you feel more full, makes you feel like I've had enough to eat. Ghrelin makes you feel more hungry. It kind of sounds like growl. Ghrelin is growling, so the growling of your stomach. So those two hormones in individuals who have a family that is very, very overweight likely has them dysregulated. So likely their leptin hormone might not be as sensitive, and their ghrelin hormone could be oversensitive. So when you think about these things, it's going to be a little bit tougher for individuals kind of coming in this category to be losing some overall weight. But this is the big point here. It still doesn't take away the fact that calories in versus calories out is what's going to lead to weight loss. So it's going to be maybe a little bit tougher for them to limit their calories in, but that's still the underlying cause at the end of the day. Also, too, another thing that kind of goes into not necessarily hunger, but genetics and weight loss is this idea that some individuals genetically move more. This is called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's essentially all the fidgeting, little movements we do throughout the day, tapping our feet, talking very loudly, just moving, that's not exercise. Individuals who are usually very, very skinny or lean usually have a much higher NEAT than somebody who's overweight or obese, or maybe a family who is. So that's something that's totally genetic too. These individuals can almost burn 300 to 500 extra calories every single day just from all these spontaneous things. Maybe they're talking really loud, or maybe they're just fidgeting a lot, but that is profound. Remember though, this still comes back to calories. They're just burning a little more calories. They're just not aware of it. So if you are somebody in a category, in a family, also too, that is overweight, you might normally just gravitate towards eating unhealthy foods simply because your family does that already. You might also not be exercising together. So just overall, you have an unhealthy environment. So it might seem like genetics are causing you to be more hungry and making you gain a bunch of weight. But in all reality, all these things together are kind of adding to this idea that you're still eating more calories than you are burning every single day. So trying to maybe get healthier meals in your home, trying to get physical activity a priority within your family, trying to eat foods that basically make you feel full quicker. So your leptin signals get activated quicker and your ghrelin signals will go down quicker. So high protein, high fiber foods, foods with lots of nutrients, those are going to be the best ones for you if you are struggling with weight loss. And if you're somebody who always thinks, genetics play a huge role into this, they do to some degree, but it's not everything. Go ahead and give the video a like if you are finding value from this so far. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that losing weight in itself actually might be making you more hungry. And, you might be asking me, why in the world is this? Well, the deal is your body loves being in homeostasis. It loves staying at a consistent body weight, and it doesn't want to gain weight. It doesn't really want to lose weight. It likes staying in its set point. So this is what we call a body weight set point. Your body wants to stay at a certain weight. So when you start losing weight, your body initially is like, oh, okay. But after 2, 3, 4 plus weeks of doing this, your body is saying like, man, this isn't good. It's not good. I'm literally starving myself. And it might not seem like you're starving yourself, especially if you are going at a very slow rate, but that's what your body feels. That's what your body thinks. And so what your body does, it kind of starts to activate a few hormones and actually dysregulate one hormone. So your leptin or fullness hormone goes down. So when you're losing weight, the hormone that makes you feel like you've got enough food goes down. And also the hormone ghrelin, it's kind of like your stomach growling, that is your hunger hormone. That goes up. So when you're dieting, your body is literally releasing a hormone that's making you feel more hungry and also down-regulating a hormone that's making you feel more full. So when you're thinking about hunger management, this is why it's so important to eat high protein, high fiber, high nutrient foods that are minimally processed, very, very high in overall volume, and can make you feel full without eating so much extra calories. So that's a huge thing as well. Also too, this isn't directly tied into your hunger, but it kind of can tie into your weight loss. When you start losing weight, your NEAT goes down. This is all the fidgeting and kind of non-exercise activities that you do throughout the day that you don't even think of, like shuffling in a chair or talking really loud to somebody or moving around, standing versus sitting. Your NEAT will go down because your body is still trying to conserve energy and get back to that set point. So unfortunately, a combination of all this can likely lead you to becoming much hungrier, and it will really, really slow down your overall weight loss. So realizing this is important because when you're trying to lose weight, people can often set them up for failure by doing different things, like eating processed food, which makes you hungrier, or like exercising less. But knowing that this happens can kind of give you a little bit of power and internal motivation, to realize that I really need to stick with this, or I need to try to make this the easiest and least conflicting in my life so I can stick with it long term. Because as we know, long-term weight loss is 100% from doing healthy foods, doing exercise, getting good sleep, doing all these health promoting behaviors for a very long time. If you don't enjoy it at all, if you hate it, obviously we're not going to all like everything, but you need to find something that's sustainable and that you can stick to for a very long portion of time, because that's what's going to lead you to those results. So these are just a few of many great tips that you can use. I'd recommend just trying a few of them. You don't have to try all of them, but hopefully it gives you some insight into controlling your hunger on a weight loss diet. Like the video, subscribe to our channel. I'm going to link another video in the pinned comment on dieting and weight loss I think you would also enjoy. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you next time.